Hello everyone, RuneWraith here, and welcome to my quick guide on the Grotesque Guardians. Alright, in this guide we're going to cover everything from the gear and inventory setups you should use to the requirements and fight mechanics in a Grotesque Guardians kill. First off, the Grotesque Guardians reside on the roof of the Slayer Tower in Mauritania. You can get there by using a Slayer ring or the fairy code CKS. There's a shortcut to the roof if you have 61 agility, but don't forget to have either a nose peg or Slayer helmet, as the second floor of the tower has some aberrant specters you have to run past in order to get to the roof. The Grotesque Guardians fight takes place in an instance, which means if you die, your items will be kept in a chest just outside the stairs to the roof for the price of 50,000 coins. I'm going to repeat myself one more time. If you die, please bring a nose peg or Slayer helmet with you to reclaim your items from the chest. The aberrant specters will rapidly drain your stats to 1 and can kill you very quickly without one. If you die a second time with items in the chest, they will be permanently lost, and I certainly don't want to see this happen to anyone. Okay, with that out of the way, let's cover some requirements. The GGs are a Slayer-only boss, and that means you need a Gargoyles task in order to fight them. At minimum, you need 75 Slayer to receive Gargoyles task, and you also need a Brittle key to unlock the gate to the roof of the Slayer Tower. This is a one-time unlock, and you get the key as a 1 in 150 drop from regular Gargoyles. You can kill the Grotesque Guardians with 80s in your melee stats in range, but you're not going to have a great time. I'd really recommend having 90 plus in your attack, defense, and strength, and 95 plus range for smooth, extended trips. It's not a hard requirement, but having the Gargoyle Smasher perk from Slayer Masters unlocked is really nice here, as it will automatically smash Dusk and Dawn when their health is low enough. The other perk, Double Trouble, makes each GG count as a separate kill. You're spending Slayer points to make the task faster, and I would highly recommend you don't unlock this, as it's really just a waste of points. For gear, I bring an imbued Slayer helmet. This is essential for its 15% damage bonus while on task. An Amulet of Torture for the accuracy and strength bonus, full bandos for the strength bonus, an Avernic Defender, Primordial Boots, Ferocious Gloves for their attack and strength bonuses, a Fire Cape, Rada's Blessing 3. If you have a 4, bring that instead because it gives a +1 prayer bonus, a Tentacle Whip, and a Light Bearer. If you have a Grazi Rapier, Blade of Saldor, or Inquisitor's Mace, bring that in place of the Tentacle Whip instead. The Light Bearer allows me to use my Saradomin Godsword spec twice as often, and I can usually use it at least once per kill, which helps extend my trips and really save supplies. A Blood Fury is a really nice amulet to have here as well because of its defense bonus and ability to heal. Now technically the Scythe and Blood Fury are best in slot, but honestly, this boss isn't great for GP considering the effort required, supplies used, and lackluster uniques. If you are using a Scythe and Blood Fury, you will probably end up losing some money in the long run, so keep that in mind. In my inventory, I take a 7-way range switch, which includes Crystal Armor, Barrow's Gloves, a Blowpipe, Pegasus, Anguish, and Assembler. You have plenty of time to switch gear in between phases, so bring your best range gear and don't be afraid of a lot of switches. I bring a Super Combat Potion or Ranging Potion, as well as some hard food like Manta Rays, Shark, or Karambwan, or Anglers. Don't forget Prayer Potions and Super Restores because this boss will often drop Saradomin Brews to help you extend your trips. I also bring a Saradomin Godsword for my special attacks. And finally, I bring a Slayer Ring for getting to the boss, a Rock Hammer for killing the boss, and a Farming Cape as a one-click teleport away from the boss. In this clip, I've also chosen to bring a Book of the Dead and Rune Pouch for summoning Thralls. Thralls work really well here to speed up kills, especially if you're skipping Dawn's healing phase. I'm also going to include a low-level setup for anyone who doesn't have the money or time to acquire the more expensive gear. In this setup, I use a Fighter Torso in place of the Bandos chestplate and a Varrock skirt instead of the tassets. The skirt has a nice prayer bonus, which helps save supplies considering you are paying protection prayers and offensive prayers for a majority of the fight. Please ignore the Blood Fury and Avernic Defender here. I don't have a Dragon Fender or regular Fury in my bank, so just pretend that's what I have equipped. I also have Guardian Boots on in this clip, which is nice to have because of the defensive bonus, but Dragon Boots would probably be preferable for their strength bonus. My inventory is basically the same, with my range gear being downgraded from Bagations and Crystal to Blessed D'hide. Instead of an SGS, I bring a Crystal Halberd for my special attack weapon since it packs quite a punch. You can optionally omit this for another piece of food and just use your Blowpipe special attack as well. Now we're going to cover the mechanics of the fight. Before you head out, make sure to pre-pot an anglerfish and raging potion to help extend your trip and reduce the amount of supplies you use for the first kill. To get there, teleport to the Slayer Tower either through Fairy Ring code CKS or by using the Slayer Ring. Walk up the stairs to the top floor where the other gargoyles are, and finally through the gate to the roof. Before ringing the bell to start the fight, make sure you are potted up and in your ranged equipment. The fight consists of 4 phases and has quite a few special mechanics. Phase 1 starts as both Dawn and Dusk attack you with range and melee respectively. You should move to the tile I have marked because it allows you to off-tick Dawn and Dusk's attacks so that you can pray against both. You should begin by ranging Dawn, the purple guardian who is flying in the air, because Dusk is invulnerable to attacks until you DPS Dawn down to 55% of her health. Dawn will generally throw 2 purple orbs at you as her range attack, but can occasionally throw a white ball which can freeze you in place and prevent you from attacking for several ticks. The freeze attack is generally inaccurate, but if you do see a shadow coming towards your character, quickly move at least 1 tile away to avoid this. After Dawn reaches 55% health, she will fly away and phase 2 begins. You'll have to deal with Dusk, the yellow guardian who uses melee, so swap into your melee gear and get ready. Make sure you don't walk under Dusk during the phases when you are fighting him alone, because he has a trample attack which can do anywhere from 30 to 40 damage. Dusk also has a shockwave attack that affects players that are directly next to him or underneath him. The attack comes quickly, so if you see Dusk raise his arms with a yellow pool underneath him, move at least 1 tile back, otherwise he will knock you back and deal a ton of damage to you. While this happens, Dawn is actively dropping debris down from the sky, which can do up to 22 damage in a 3x3 area, so make sure you're at least 2 tiles away from any shadows that appear on the ground. Dusk will always do his shockwave attack quite quickly after Dawn leaves from phase 1. If you're fast enough, you should be able to get 3 whip hits in before he does the attack. Once Dusk has 55% of his HP remaining, Dawn will descend and phase 3 will begin. At the start of phase 3, both guardians will summon lightning on the ground, which should be avoided. The lightning, like the falling rocks, appears in a 3x3 area, so make sure you're at least 2 tiles away from any particular lightning spawn. While the guardians are transitioning between the phases, you should be swapping back into your range gear to DPS down Dawn. The summoned lightning will always go under the tile the player is initially standing on, so you'll always have to move when phase 3 starts. If you're struggling with your health at this stage, my best advice is to focus on movement first and then swapping gear. It's always worth it to miss a gear switch than to take an avoidable 20 plus damage. While you're attacking Dawn, she'll throw out 3 energy spheres across the rooftop, which will heal her for 90 HP per orb. If you're a high level player with near best in slot range gear, you can out DPS this phase and kill Dawn before she's able to absorb the spheres. In order to skip this phase, I'm talking like 99 range, Blowpipe, Masori, Crystal, Armadillo, Pagations, Anguish, Thralls, Rigor, etc. You need every ounce of DPS you can get if you want to skip this phase. Otherwise, you should go to each orb around the room and absorb it so that Dawn can't heal. Once Dawn is dead, Dusk will absorb her essence, making him even stronger. This signifies the 4th and final phase of the fight. At the beginning of phase 4, Dusk will teleport to the player into a fiery prison with only 1 tile to escape from. Simply click anywhere outside of the fire to have your character automatically path out. Simple. There is one exception to this attack. Very occasionally, the fire will be positioned so that the only escape is facing the edge of the rooftop arena. In this case, your character can't automatically path out of the flames. However, the tile where there is no flame wall is still a safe tile. So you can avoid the attack. You just need to click quickly and precisely. Once you escape the flames, Dusk will attack with both range and melee and get some buffed stats. His melee max hit is a 26, while his range attack maxes at a 15. Dusk will randomly switch between using melee and range and has a 1 in 6 chance to switch attack styles if the player is not praying correctly. If the player prays correctly, Dusk has a 1 in 3 chance to switch attack styles. Don't you just love being punished for praying correctly? So this comes straight from the wiki. Players should always switch prayers to match Dusk's last attack. Doing so will yield correct prayer coverage for 72% of his attacks. Simple as that. Simply DPS Dusk down to finish off the fight. If you're struggling with prayer flicking or off-ticking the Guardians, you can optionally move to the south of the arena to the tile marked number 2. Dusk will follow you and attempt to melee you. And as soon as he throws his attack, move to the tile marked number 1, and he should move near the corner of the room. Now move back to tile number 2, which should be directly underneath Dusk at this point, and he will struggle to path around you. This gives you some time to attack Dawn without having to prayer flick both Guardians at the same time. I prefer to prayer flick because I have the timing down, and setting up this lore correctly can be a bit finicky and doesn't always work right. But give it a shot, see how you like it, and see if it helps you. Now I'm going to walk through a full example kill. I start the kill by praying Rigor, attacking Dawn, and moving over to the tile. Right before Dusk comes up, I pray melee to negate his first attack and get into the rhythm of prayer flicking between both of their attacks. Dawn throws out a white energy ball here, but it is super far away, so I don't really have to be concerned about it. That concludes phase 1, where I switch into my melee gear and start attacking Dusk. Dusk has 3 attacks before he does his shockwave, so I have to move back, and I'm careful to also avoid the 3x3 falling debris as well. It's important to note that if you do not finish this phase fast enough, Dusk can throw another shockwave at you, so be prepared for that to happen. As more debris come falling down, I move back to avoid it, letting Dusk come to me rather than me stepping in the way of the debris. Now that phase 2 is over, I switch into my range gear and prepare for the lightning to come down. Here, I'm very careful to avoid all of the lightning around me, and I wait until that's over. I summon my Thrall to do extra DPS, pray Rigor, and start trying to DPS down Dawn in order to skip the healing orbs phase. I path under Dusk to make him work a little bit so that I'm not having to constantly prayer flick, but this is just optional. I finish off Dawn, and Dusk is absorbing her essence. Finally, I swap into my melee gear and prepare to run out of the flame wall. You can see here I almost got trapped in the corner, but I was able to make it to the safe tile. I pray Piety in melee and start attacking Dusk. He uses his range attack, so I swap my prayers, and he uses a second range attack, so I do not swap my prayers. Then he goes to melee, so I swap, and so on and so forth. I use my Sardome and Godsword special to get some health and prayer back. However, this is probably more useful in phase 2 since Dusk does have some higher defenses at this point in the fight. I simply flick Piety and keep up with my prayers to finish off the fight. And that is a full Grotesque Guardians kill. Well, that's all I had for everyone today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all learned something about the Grotesque Guardians and feel confident enough to try it and take them on yourself. Good luck on that pet grind, and have a great rest of your day.